A very good afternoon and Jule to all present here. Respected dignitaries, my dear friends and colleagues, and my dear recently added in the list of my friendship is Mr. Virendra. It was on a shorter notice than when he ringed me. I was surprised who is the fellow who is calling me. And he said that we are having a symposium and if you are available. And fortunately, I was supposed to go to my home, that is Srinagar. And I told him, yeah, I will be there. So basically, I have done PhD from Banaras Hindu University and my specialization is ecotourism. My research area was ecotourism. I had done research on prospects of ecotourism in the Kashmir Valley, wherein I had taken a case study of my own district, that is district Ganderbal. I think majority of the people in Ladakh are aware about that. But he told me that you are supposed to talk on some different issue, that is tourism industry and Ladakh tourism, then you can touch ecotourism as well if you wish. So let me just try my level best and with the blessings of revered guests here, I would try my level best to give the message what actually tourism is and what are the prospects of Ladakh tourism, but I will be discussing about the ecotourism in the Ladakh part of my presentation, so I have divided it into two parts. First, I will be discussing about the Indian tourism industry. So before starting, let me just have a brief sort of interaction because after lunch we feel a sort of dizziness. So let me just pose a question to the audience. What do we understand by tourism? As Sir has already discussed it, that it's a movement of people. Yeah, in layman's terms, we say then there are the organizations like United Nations World Tourism Organization. They have given official definitions of the tourism. Yeah, we say that it is a movement of people. And let me just try to explain it. When people start moving from the place of their actual origin, they move to a place which is different. And the purpose is to have rest, relaxation, or indulge in the activities of leisure and pleasure. Or Sir rightly said that it may be knowledge process also. There are two important things which we must understand and know. This is the time and money. These are the two important things. We in tourism terminology call them as disposable leisure time and disposable income or disposable money. That is the time which is left after doing one's routine activities, we call it as a leisure time. And the money which we spend in our day-to-day activities and the money left over, we call it as a disposable money or disposable income which we have for the tourism, for traveling purpose. And there are certain components or ingredients which are essential for tourism. In tourism terminology, I may be just from the academic perspective, I'll be discussing briefly about these things. There are 6 essential components of tourism. We call them as 6 A's of tourism. That is, first of all, we should have an attraction. Then going there, that is a part of accessibility, how we will go there. Then we need accommodation, that is the third A. Then what are the activities we'll be indulging there? And what are the amenities available there? And what are the ancillary services that will be provided there? So these are the 6 essential components, or you can say the ingredients which are important for tourism to take place. But there is one more important aspect of this. If we are having all these ingredients, but we are not having one P, P stands for peace, then tourism is not possible. It is for sure tourism will not happen, and that we know nowadays what is happening across the globe. And better example is our own, which was a state. Sorry if I'm not hurting anybody's sentiment, we are still one state. No doubt it has been bifurcated, but we are one. We believe across from Kashmir to Kanyakumari we are one. So anyway, you have been given the status of union territory. It's a welcome step from the government of India, and Jammu and Kashmir being a separate union territory. So we better understand what this peace is and what we mean by peace and how essential it is for the growth and development of tourism in a place which is in one way or the other way wholly and solely dependent on it. So there may be some discussion on it whether we are really dependent on tourism or not. That is a separate issue. I may not go into the details of those. So basically when tourism started, the actual process of tourism started after the World War II. that people started traveling, and there was a notion that why we should travel, and there were many advocates of this. Few people said that yeah, it is good, we should travel. They were the advocates of the tourism, but there were some saner voices who said no, we have to maintain some decency, because it was in fact in 1970s onwards, in 1980s there started movements, those were called as the environmental movements, that they saw that tourism, actually the mass tourism, we have two types of tourism in general. We say mass tourism and the alternative tourism. Alternative tourism, that we have ecotourism and other. So general, we are having mass tourism where people come in numbers to any destination without caring. So that is why nowadays we have responsible, eco, and the terminologies like this. So previously it was a mass tourism activity, and people started moving in numbers going to a destination without taking into consideration like eco-fragility of an area like Ladakh, or even in Kashmir or some areas like that. So there were concerns among the people, and they started in this direction that no, we should have a controlled mechanism, that if tourism is there, it should be sustainable in nature. Then we saw the movements like United Nations declaring 2002 as an International Year of World Ecotourism. Then there were the movements for sustainable tourism. Now we have United Nations has given the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. What are the goals which we should achieve, and what actually should be done to promote the tourism which is sustainable in nature. Sustainability is a broader concept, and ecotourism and the things like rural tourism, and these are the new emerging dimensions or new emerging trends which cover this broader aspect. So now when this tourism, we say there are global trends. I will not go into the more statistical part, even though I have that in my presentation. It has been already discussed by Professor Pawan also. Tourism, actually we say that is a global phenomenon, and I told you that after World War II it has emerged as a global phenomenon, and we see, according to the estimates of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, that till 2030, United Nations World Tourism Organization has given a forecast that travel and tourism industry will expand. There will be an expansion of 1.8 billion travel arrivals across the globe. And globally we see that when there are increasing number of destinations, obviously there's a pressure on the destination. For example, destination like Ladakh, where we see that population is less, we were discussing in the lunch also, and number of tourists are coming more. So there's a sort of invasion, and we say that why they are coming here, they are invading us. We have different models where these things have been discussed. When tourists comes to a place, they are in a euphoria, and when they start coming in more numbers, people start having a sort of antagonism towards them. Why they are coming here, and why they are actually indulging in the activities which we are not supposed to do. We have a lot of examples in Kashmir also. Once in Kashmir, there was one renowned personality who decided that we should have a beach sort of culture in the Jhelum river. And there were local community who said, please, we are not supposed to do such things here, because our community, our social values and our ethics does not promote us to do such things. So these were actually the issues which sustainability and ecotourism and things like that are taking into consideration. So we see that number of destinations were opened, and without taking into account what will happen to the destination, what will happen to the local people, we actually think in the monetary terms. What will be the foreign exchange, how much currency I will get, how much foreign tourists will come to my place, and I will get more and more money. That is not bad. Earning foreign exchange is not bad, but we have to take into account the issue of the sustainability, how it will sustain for the longer duration. So this was the global phenomenon, and the socio-economic progress through the creation of jobs by this mass movement of people from the places which they have not known, and coming in numbers which are uncontrollable. In majority of the cases, these are uncontrollable. No doubt there are the policies of the government. We say that we have to take into consideration carrying capacity and other such issues. But in the practical aspect, such things does not happen. And we have the cases here also. So this was the global scenario, how tourism emerged, and the timeline I am saying it was after the World War II. Now when we come to Indian tourism, it was thought well before the independence. When after becoming the first Prime Minister of the India, Pandit Nehru, he said that welcoming a tourist means we are sending back a guest. And India has its ethos and traditions. We say that we have a mantra, that is two mantras. One is Atithi Devo Bhava, that guest is the God, and Vasudeva Kutumbakam. These are the Sanskrit, terminologies. They have been, written in the English. That world is one family. This ethos is there in the Indian society from the ancient times. When people started coming here, they may not be, categorized as the tourists. For example, there were a lot of travelers, like we have Fahim, Hewan Song, and people like that. They came, they have some different motive to come. But over a period of time, they became the tourists for us, because we studied their travelogues. They mentioned about, like we have Ibn Battuta, he has written a travelogue, and we started reading these travelogues, and these became authentic for us because they were giving the authentic information. So Indian tourism scenario, it was not a easy affair for tourism to develop here. Even after attaining the independence, we did not have tourism as a separate industry. It was only in the 1980s when tourism was granted as a status of industry. Before that, it was not a separate industry. But there were, developments were going on where Pandit Nehru appointed a committee that was known as Sir John Sargent Committee. That committee actually studied what could be the developments in a country like India, which have rich resources, which has a plethora of traditions, which is a pluralistic in its outlook. So what can be developed here, what can be done in this country so that we can promote tourism? Maybe the notion was, again I'm saying, notion was the monetary aspect, the economic aspect, because we had come out of the British rule, we had to develop our own system. So there were different notions about it, and it started growing. And then we have a policy document that it was after 1980 that Indian tourism policy 2002, which is still, if Pawan sir is also here, I may be wrong, Indian Ministry of Tourism had last, I think in 2015 or 16, decided to have a new tourism policy, which I think is not still implemented. There's a policy.
It is a draft.
Yeah, it is a draft. There's a draft, but still we don't have the tourism policy. India does not have the tourism policy. This is the policy 2002, which actually had laid emphasis on that tourism will be an engine of economic growth in a country like India. There were a lot of points were discussed in that policy. I have not taken the all points. I have taken some major points, and position India as a global brand which can be promoted across the world, and so that people from different parts of the world come here and see our rich traditions, our culture, and our society. So by promoting this as a tourism product, as a tourism product, we will have economic development in our country, because we were still trying to come out of the British legacy. We were trying to develop our own system, and then ensure that when tourists come to India, they are physically, they get invigorated, because tourist comes to a place for relaxation, for entertainment, for rest. He wants to come out of the mundane activities, and that was actually happening in the developed nations like Europe. We were not in that position. Our tourism was still, and it is still, this is my opinion, we are still religious centric. When it comes to tourism, you might see from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Right now I am working in the eastern part of the country, Odisha, which is very close to the south also. We'll find the domestic tourists, in majority of the cases, they will be visiting, like they'll be going for the pilgrimage, like we have the case in Jammu and Kashmir, Amarnath, and things like that. And India is a country which is bestowed, I can say, with a lot of cultural, these traditions. We have a lot of fairs and festivals, which are mostly, I see, they are religious in outlook. Suppose there is some festival which may be pertaining to agricultural, this thing like rice cultivation or things like that. We have different festivals. But I have seen that those festivals also have a sort of religious outlook. If we deeply try to understand those things, somewhere we are trying to please some higher authority, whatever that may be. So we see that domestic tourism in India, which is now day by day picking up because there are new trends emerging, it was religious centric. It was the pilgrimage was the important part, which was actually when in ancient times we saw that the person who was traveling, he was either a pilgrim or a trade or a purpose. He was having purpose for trade or commerce. There was nothing like the traveler which we are having today. The explanations, the types of the tourists or the travelers, that was not there. Previously, there were only two things. So it was to ensure that tourist in India gets physically invigorated, mentally rejuvenated, culturally enriched, spiritually elevated, and feel India from within. That I said that India, still we know that India is a society, India is a country which is a pluralistic in nature. Whatever the situation may be, whatever the circumstances, we believe in the plurality of the system which we have. And this was a draft tourism policy, and the main thrust of this tourism policy was on the 7 important areas. Those are called as 7S. 7S of Indian tourism policy. Number 1 was the Swagat. When tourist comes here, we have to welcome him, and we use the term Swagat. Number 2, tourist needs information, so we call it Suchana. First is Swagat, number 2 is Suchana, number 3 is Suvidha, facilitation. It may be related to accommodation, it may be related to amenities and other services. And another was Suraksha, safety, which we are nowadays having issues. Safety has become a major issue. I may not be talking about the rural areas, but since I am outside, I have been frequently visiting the metros and I have seen the position, and you read the reports also what is happening in Delhi, what is happening in Bangalore and other cities where tourists, what is happening to the tourists. That is why the organization like Ministry of Tourism, they are providing these training programs, like we had the training for the tourist police also, that these are the reasons. Another was the Sahyog, the cooperation. That what the Indianness is. If a tourist comes here, that guest is the god. We have to be very cooperative with him. And another one, Samrachna, infrastructure development. These and lastly, Safai, the cleanliness, which nowadays we are seeing that Swachh Bharat and other things, that our present government, they are laying more emphasis on this thing. So these were the cardinal principles of promoting tourism in India. Those principles were mentioned in the tourism policy of 2002. Again, I am saying 2015, we have a draft tourism policy which is not yet still implemented. So this is now growth of tourism in India. I think I will skip this because this has already been discussed by our speakers. These are the figures, statistics, what it is. Now, there are some schemes. This growth of tourism in India, I have mostly thrived on the Ministry of Tourism. I have taken the information mostly from the Ministry of Tourism. The Ministry of Tourism, what they do in order to promote tourism in India, there are some schemes. The scheme like we have Swadesh Darshan, that is integrated development of theme-based tourism circuits in the country, and Prashad, pilgrimage, rejuvenation, spiritual heritage augmentation drive. These were the programs, the policies which were started, I think, in 2015 or 16, I guess. These were the schemes which Ministry of Tourism started to promote the integrated tourism development in the country. So, important thematic areas, if we take the case of Swadesh Darshan, I'll be taking one. Swadesh Darshan, there are different circuit developments. For example, Buddhist circuit, Himalayan circuit, eco circuit, rural circuit. So there was the concept that we should develop circuit tourism, like we have the Buddhist tourism. So it is all related to Buddha's life, his birth, then he's attaining the enlightenment, he's giving the speech, first sermon. So that will cover the places which are related to Buddha's life, from the Lumbini to the Bodh Gaya. So this became a Buddhist circuit. So what actually is there, this Buddhist circuit, it is India's first transnational circuit, transnational tourist circuit, with efforts to promote tourism that is all related to Buddha's life. Now we are seeing that during now we are having international Buddhist festival in Bodh Gaya. So Ministry of Tourism has done this initiative to promote the cultural or the or the traditional aspect of the Indian society, which is unique in its aspect because it is a pluralistic in nature. Otherwise, Buddha, he belongs to some different arena or some different area, but India has that uniqueness to encompass the features which actually help in the rejuvenation of its traditions, rejuvenation of its culture. So that was the reason behind this, and we have the train also running, which is covering these places like Buddhist circuit. These are the initiatives which have been created by the Ministry of Tourism. Then we have the Himalayan circuit. Himalaya, it's a vast area stretching from Ladakh to there in northeast. We are seeing one part of the Himalayas here. There's a one part in the northeast. Sometimes people get confused that Kashmir is only Himalaya, because Kashmir has been sold at the global level like that it's a paradise, it's a heaven on earth. But sometimes people forget that there are other areas also which are important from the perspective of the tourism. So that we have seen in previously when we were one state, Jammu and Kashmir was promoted on the region basis. Ladakh as separate, Kashmir as a separate, and Jammu as a separate. But the unique feature of oneness was there, which is, I hope it is still there. So this is the Himalayan region. That we have the Himalayan region. It consists of the natural beauty. It consists of the glaciers. It consists of the mountains, and it's a totally we can say it's an ecologically fragile zone. We can say. So if we promote tourism, which is mass tourism in nature, we are actually doing destruction to the nature. And when we do destruction to the nature, we ourselves will get destroyed. That is the philosophy of the nature. So if we try to play with the nature, nature will play with us. So that has been like you take the case of the places like Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand. I have been recently to Mussoorie. I have seen what is happening there. Mushrooming growth of hotels. And the problem is again that money. So money is okay, but money at what cost? How much money? So they don't know themselves. Or you take the case of, not to go far away, you take the case of Sonamarg. When I was doing the research, ecotourism was my project, and I was doing the research in that area. One day I went and I took some photographs. There was some construction going on, and suddenly they ran after me, and that they thought that I am from a media fraternity and I may report on the newspaper. And I had to move away from that place and take refuge with my uncle who was working in the Jammu and Kashmir Tourism Development Corporation. So he said, "What you did there?" I said, "I took some photographs there because they were doing the work which is not good." He said, "Come on boy, just sit, relax, have lunch and go there. I have faced this myself. They attacked me recently when I said, why are you constructing the hotels on the bank of the Sindh River? Because it is against the fragility of that area." Even then Chief Minister of the Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Omar Abdullah, he also went there, and once I saw the report, he was literally weeping, what you are doing. But when it came to the policy making, he himself could not do anything, because there were some other cases I will not discuss with those. So that is how actually tourism has emerged and evolved. But unfortunately, we are doing what is not in consonance with the nature of our area. We think that it's a golden duck which will give me the golden eggs, then I will have a life which is very luxurious, without thinking what will happen to the future generation. So these are the cases. That is why we have been here today to discuss about the ecotourism. That is the motive of this symposium. So in between, we are discussing the scenario of the tourism. What is there? What was there or what is not there, and what should be done in the future. So these were the circuit developments. Like we have the eco circuit. I'll be discussing about it in a detail later on about the eco circuit, and then rural circuit. That sir has discussed the good example of Kumarakom. I have myself visited that place. That has become one of the best responsible tourism destination in the country, and they get the awards all the time. They get the awards, and they have done it in a manner that I think it will take ages for us to do that. What they have done. That totally you get the experience of the rural life, what is going on there. Once I remind quote of one of my professors when he was teaching us tourism. He said that your area is blessed area. So you should do something there to promote the tourism there, but it should be sustainable in nature. At that point in time, I was not getting the concept. What is the meaning of sustainable? I said, sir, what is sustainable? He said, the sustainable means like you are staying here in Delhi. You see, we need AC and other things here that we don't need in your place. So I started laughing. He said, why are you laughing? I said, my cousin has brought AC in his house and he is now having AC. He said, is he gone mad? I said, hopefully he's gone mad, because we don't need AC in Kashmir. So we have actually that sort of inferiority complex when we are having tourists from the developed countries. They need the facilities which should be of the elite class. That is not the truth. It is actually a false notion. If a tourist is coming to a place, why should I provide him AC? Why should I give him the 5-star accommodation? He will be given the accommodation, decent accommodation, that will be traditional in nature. That is what we were known for it. Kashmir was known for the wooden houses. Most of you might have seen the now situation has totally changed. In my own house is a 2-story house, which is a cemented house. So we have changed all these things. So what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to provide the traditional, the traditional system which is there. And the examples like in Odisha is doing good in ecotourism. I was recently in one of the places that is called as Darik Badi, and it is called Mini Kashmir of Odisha. And they have maintained what is actually the traditional system, what we should do to promote, to earn money also, but that money, earning that money, it should not be like that golden duck case that I will take all the golden eggs and rest of my generation, they will have nothing. They have maintained that. Even in Tamil Nadu, we have the case of Kodai Canal, what they are doing, all the traditional stuff. They are selling for the tourists, they are selling the coffee, locally made coffee, then locally made chocolates. Those are the products they sell to the tourists. But when it comes to the case of this northern region, we face a lot of problems. That is why now there are some saner voices in the society. We say that, look, what is going on? Why we are having why we are having number of people which is exaggerated, which is actually sometimes we say that our population is not set and we are having a lot of people coming here. So we have to take those things into consideration, and that is actually why these are the trends in the tourism, these are picking up, that now people have realized at the higher level also that tourism is now day by day has become very detrimental to the nature, because nature is the basic component on which tourism depends. We have the nature, when I say we have the whole biodiversity, ecology, environment, flora, fauna. So tourism is dependent mostly on it. And then, what are the growth drivers of the Indian tourism that we have? On the one side, we have the promotional initiatives which Ministry of Tourism is doing, like Incredible India. That is the best thing they are doing. They are doing it not only at the national level, but at the global level. They are participating in travel marts, travel fairs, to promote India as a country which has the resources, which has the richness that we can harness and promote tourism here. But our mantra should be not mass tourism, but we should have a tourism which is sustainable. And again, we may not implement these principles, but we have to think. We have to think what should be done so that our future generation will not curse us what you have done. So that has been the case. Why again and again I'm saying Kashmir, because I have seen what is happening there. We are getting a lot of money from the ministries, from the central governments, from different agencies. What has been done? Nothing at all. So people have used that money for their own greed and need. So this is how, then there's a national tourism policy, which again I'm sorry to say, not yet there. 2002, now it is 2018, we are entering to 2019 or 2020, so it's almost a two-decade old case. We need to have a policy, proper tourism policy. Then there are, nowadays we are seeing that there are relaxed norms for investment in tourism. Our present Prime Minister, he is more focusing on tourism, and there are relaxed norms, whether it's in taxation and other cases, there are relaxed norms, and development of new tourism products, which I will be discussing. Then the case of low-cost airlines, like we have in Indian case Udan, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. This was the scheme which was started that common masses, they should have access to the airplanes. Those who have not visited, those who have not even seen aeroplane, they should get the opportunity to visit. And there was a fixed rate for that also. So these low-cost airlines, they have also made traveling very easy. And what India actually offers, rich heritage and history. India is known for now adventure tourism like Ladakh we have. Ladakh is actually known for the adventure tourism. If I'm not wrong in saying that, when tourism started here, it was basically adventure tourism. And when tourists visit Jammu and Kashmir, mostly foreign tourists, they will be coming to Ladakh for adventure. That is what I have seen when I was doing my research. I have met a lot of people who will be foreigners. They are only coming for adventure tourism. Now ecotourism and other things are there. So hopefully in the future we will be having such things also. Then the wildlife. Then the important thing, Indian food and cuisine. It's famous across the globe. Then you find India, you find region-wise, then within the region, sub-regions, we have a different cuisine, and that has become an important aspect. Then art and culture, there's no doubt India has a rich art, rich culture. Then the most importantly, the pluralistic society which we have. That is how India is actually attracting the tourists across the globe. That sir has recently shown that Govardhan case. That how that foreigners are coming there and how they are indulging themselves in the Indian culture. That may be religious, that might be having the religious connotation, but that actually shows the richness of the India as a country. And then what are the trends in tourism which are picking up in Indian tourism? There are trends like we have cruise tourism, we are having now wellness like Ayurveda. Yoga is also being promoted as a tourism product. Then we have medical tourism. Majority of the people, you may find that in Delhi, we have people from Middle East and other countries. They are coming for the treatment. They are even from the foreign countries also, because they get their treatment done at a cheaper rate than what is being done in their country. And then the film tourism, it's also picking up. Then we have MICE tourism, that is meetings, incentives, conventions and expositions. This is a new concept also. Sustainable tourism, which we know, and how India is being promoted as a tourism destination. It is that both nationally as well as globally. Like in case of national tourism, we have like promotional campaigns like Paryatan Parv, that Ministry of Tourism is doing this. This is then Bharat Parv, then Swachhata campaign at tourist sites. This coincides with Mahatma Gandhi's birthday celebrations that Ministry of Tourism, Government of India celebrates almost. It's almost, I think, week-long celebration which is being celebrated across the country. Then International Yoga Festival. Now yoga is picking up very well because India has rich traditions, and yoga, sometimes people get confused that it is some sort of religious ideology which is being promoted, but that is not the case. India, it might be a religious ideology. What is wrong in that? But what actually India is trying to give to the world, that's a different aspect. So we have this sort of problem here also. And then participates India, the Ministry of Tourism participates in international trade fairs and festivals, then exhibitions. These are then there are some notable initiatives that when we are discussing about the human resource, the skilled manpower that we require for tourism promotion, we have institutes like Hotel Management and Foodcraft Institutes in India, which are providing training for them to have a skilled manpower who will be running the business of tourism. Then Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management, they are providing there are so many initiatives from them. They are providing the training to the guides, and other initiatives are there. There are capacity building programs for young generation, like these programs. These are for service providers. We have a Hunar Se Rozgar. It's a very important scheme by the Ministry of Tourism, wherein young generation, young youth who are educated or who may be having less education, they are being given training so that they can earn their livelihood in a best possible manner. Then skill testing and certification. There are so many institutions which are providing these trainings. And then entrepreneurship programs. We have now Skill India, skill development. So these are the initiatives which Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has taken to promote the tourism, wherein we should have the skilled manpower. But I'm again saying that we have issues. Those issues need to be countered. Like, why in a destination which has less population will have tourists which are more in number, because it has its own consequences, like it will have inflation, it will have other problems. And now I will come to the Ladakh. So this was just an outline of the. So Ladakh, when I talk of Ladakh, we know that I told you that it's an internationally acclaimed tourist destination. It was known for the adventure tourism. I belong to the area which is not very far from Ladakh. I consider sometimes Gandharbal and Ladakh, it is one. But unfortunately or fortunately, I have not been able to visit here. Though I tried my level best, but this time I got an opportunity to visit this place, and I am totally mesmerized. Though I could not get an opportunity to visit places because I was very tired yesterday. Whole day I slept. I could not visit places, but I am very much mesmerized by this place. And thank God, till date, Ladakh has not become like Mussoorie and other hill stations. And I hope this will remain as such. We don't need that infrastructural development, that five-star hotels here. As sir was also saying, we should not catch up with the tourism, like all the tourism should be here. No, we should not have that, because that will have detrimental impacts on this particular region. So you are all aware about these things, what we have here: mountaineering, trekking, rafting, snow skating. These were actually the initial stages wherein tourists used to come here, adventure tourists. And another feature of this moonland is the pristine Buddhist culture. That is one of the best things Ladakh has given to the rest of the world, that it's known for this Buddhist culture, and it has preserved its heritage structures. I went yesterday to the Shanti Stupa. It's actually a Shanti place. It gives one a Shanti. And that is the best thing what Ladakh has done. We go to the monuments outside, like in Delhi and other places. We see that those monuments, sometimes we find they are not in a good shape. There are so many issues there. But Ladakh has preserved its pristine glory, which it is known for that. And then, why tourists visit Ladakh? It is for its authenticity. The authenticity which it has, whether it is in rural life, whether it is in agricultural life, people visit for its authenticity. And what is the growth of tourism? I will not go to the historical aspect, that it was from 1974 that people started coming here, that this region became very famous across the globe. And in recent times, Ladakh has witnessed growth in tourism, great pace in international tourism, which we see, which we have the facts, like new places were opened here, like we have Drukpa area. We have Nubra Valley or Nayoma. These are the new areas which have been opened for the tourism. And the Nubra division, you might be knowing more than me why it is famous. Like we have the Khardongla Pass, which is the highest motorable road. Then we have the peaks and glaciers, so on and so forth. So I will not be going into the details of these things. So what are the major tourism products in Ladakh? We see there are nature tourism products, like Ladakh is a bestowed region, that you have the glimpse of even in an aeroplane, you have the glimpse of the area, you get mesmerized, that this area is a pristine glory. Then we have the adventure tourism, we have religious tourism, and wildlife tourism. So after a brief account of these, I will come to the ecotourism aspect after this. Then the monasteries and heritage in Ladakh. Ladakh is known for its monasteries. Ladakh is known for its heritage structures. And then these are some monuments which I have taken information from different sources. What is here, in order to show in my presentation that these are the areas these are the national monuments which are present in Ladakh. And the important thing, what can be done in Ladakh, that is based on the SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis, we measure the strengths, we measure the weaknesses, opportunities and threats, both on the stakeholder side and on the side of the destination as well, what destination has to offer. Like if we find the major strength of Ladakh, we say that it has a rich culture and heritage. This is the major strength of Ladakh. It has a rich flora and fauna. It has a diversity. What are the weaknesses? Since India as a country does not have the tourism policy, so how can we say that Ladakh does not have its own tourism policy? So when country itself is not having the tourism policy, so how can Ladakh have a tourism policy? But I hope so we can have its own, Ladakh can have its own tourism policy without waiting for other initiatives that when central ministry will have its tourism policy, then we will be having. I think there are a lot of people are here, the best, I can say the best brain of Ladakh, so they can just work on it and have a tourism policy of the Ladakh. This is actually the weakness. Then inadequate human resource. Inadequate human resource, when I am saying skilled human resource. That might be the problem. And then we have the opportunities, growing investment opportunities of state and private sector, but don't allow too much privatization in Ladakh. As a student of tourism, I find that it is not viable. The people of this region, they should be provided the training, like we have the institutes who are providing the training. They should be providing the training, and they should work themselves rather than having the private these firms and enterprises, because that I guess as a student of tourism, I think it's very detrimental. Then development of sustainable circuits and mega projects. These are the opportunities available here. Then there are the threats. One of the major threat is that increasing number of tourism or increasing stress on environment from rapid growth of tourism. That is a major threat. We should have a selected tourist. That ecotourism. When we are talking of ecotourism, we are actually trying to have the tourists who are well aware, or even if they are not aware, there will be the local group. They will be providing them the awareness, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do here. So their do's and do nots have to be taken into consideration. And ecotourism is a superior market wherein we find that tourists who are educationally well qualified. Even I have seen, when I was doing my survey, I find that majority of the tourists who have an interest in ecotourism, they are educationally very ahead, then economically very ahead. In all aspects, they are very ahead, because we are having a tourist who is a specific tourist. He is not a mass tourist who will be coming like a mad race. People are coming. No, they will be a specific group, specific category of the tourists. Actually, this category of tourists, it is emerging as one of the major markets in the world. At the global level, if we take the case of the Europe or other countries, they have developed. Even in India, the first ecotourism destination in India was the Thenmala in Kerala. Kerala has taken a lead role in promoting ecotourism, and they are doing best, irrespective of what has happened to them recently, like floods and other situations. That natural disasters are everywhere in the India, but they are doing well in the ecotourism. Even state like Odisha, where I am right now, they are also doing better. And then Sikkim or other you have this Madhya Pradesh, they are doing better in the ecotourism. We can take from them also. And now when I try to discuss about the future prospects of the Ladakh tourism, so I see that number one is the awareness building. It is an important aspect wherein we can promote the sustainable tourism practices. That ecotourism is one of the components, I can say. Sustainability is a broader concept. Ecotourism, rural tourism, and these new forms of tourism, they come under the garb of the sustainable tourism. Sustainability, what we mean, that we should have the resources that our future generation will also utilize. And ecotourism, what is ecotourism? If I give the definition of ecotourism that has been given by the International Ecotourism Society based in US, they say ecotourism, it is responsible travel to natural areas which conserves the environment, sustains the well-being of the local people, and involves education and interpretation. Then they have given broad principles about that. Almost 9 principles are there which they have mentioned what should be done, what should not be done at a destination to promote it as an ecotourism destination. Then the hotels and resort owners, they should be put to adopt the strategy. I hope there might be that strategy, the solar energy, water harvesting and other technologies. It might be there. I may not be aware about it, but it might be there. So these are the important aspects which have to be taken into consideration when we are promoting the tourism. I am saying ecotourism, not mass tourism. Ecotourism in the Ladakh. And the cause for sustainability, that there should be people of Ladakh should position themselves on the green hospitality map. That is the tourism here, it should be a green tourism. That is what we mean by sustainability and the concepts related to it, ecotourism, rural tourism, or aspects like that. So thank you very much. I hope I have tried my level best to, discuss about the importance of tourism and how in Ladakh we can have not tourism, mass tourism, but ecotourism, and what are the prospects for that. We can take the models from different states of the India, even Kerala. Kerala can be the best model. Even in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, they have the ecotourism, and how we can. And one more thing, Sir is also here from the Ministry of Tourism. They have started. It was in 2008, I guess, when Ministry of Wildlife, Government of Jammu and Kashmir, in collaboration with one organization, that's a Bangalore-based organization, Jungle Lodges and Resorts, they came up with an ecotourism policy for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Jammu and Kashmir, it has become a union, but I have not found that that policy has been implemented, because state does not have its own tourism policy, not to speak of ecotourism policy, but they have done their initiative, they have done their work, initiative is there, so we can just revisit that and see what went wrong, why that policy is not being implemented in the state of in Ladakh as a union territory and in Jammu and Kashmir as a whole. So we have to take those initiatives, because Environment Ministry, Wildlife, Forest, and these are the part and parcel of this. Sometimes there is a clash between the people from the forest and environment with the tourism people. They are saying tourism people are coming to, occupy our land, which is ours. That has happened in Kashmir, like places like Narana, Gangabal, that lake trek area. That has happened there also. So we can just have those policy implemented. When document is there, why that document is not being implemented? I even discussed I have given a recommendation in my PhD thesis also, though I could not go to the concerned agency. I just fear going to meet MLAs and people like that, because I know that what will be the outcome of that. So if document is there, why we are not implementing that document? What was the reason behind having that document and spending a huge money on that? So it's a kind of studently, I can just I can put my words as a student that when we are having these documents, why we are not implementing it? And Ladakh is now the best possible, the destination that we can implement here, the ecotourism policy. Thank you very much, and my sincere thanks to my colleagues and all the people present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal, for